I told him we were gonna catch a bunch of beavers here. Beaver number 2. Hey, you're not gonna believe this, Seth.
I set my first muskrat traps in western Michigan in 1984 when I was 10 years old. Back then, trappers were getting $4 a piece for muskrat pelts, down from about $8 a few years earlier. It was still good money though. A kid was lucky to get $10 for mowing someone's lawn, but it was a lot easier to find muskrat dens in my area than it was to find lawn mowing jobs. I figured that I'd be a professional trapper for the rest of my life, and I pursued that dream for a decade. What happened after that is that I became a writer instead. But that decade of serious trapping had a major influence on me, both as a hunter and as a worker. I'd learned a lot about reading animal sign, and I learned about doing physical work in rough weather conditions. In fact, those years meant enough to me that I still like to keep my hand in trapping today. But rather than selling fur, I nowadays use it for our own hats and mittens, and for non-profit fundraisers and gifts for friends and decorations for our own home. One of my favorite things to trap are beavers, more specifically problem beavers that are giving ranchers or farmers a fit by flooding irrigation systems and croplands and felling valuable trees. Finding them is pretty easy because people around southwest Montana just let me know about problem beavers that they're having a hassle with. In fact, give a shout if you're ever in such a situation.
The other thing we're seeing a lot of is coyote tracks. You wouldn't believe how much critters like to run ice. The ice becomes a superhighway for predators. But I'm sure predators love checking on these beaver areas because they probably now and then catch beavers up and are easy pickings. This is like a big side channel on a major river, and as everything's frozen and the water's dropped, their little existence is very confined right now.
Yeah.
This is all their food.
They have a big feed pile.
Yeah, they made a massive feed pile. And they stash all this, it's deep here. They stash brush from the bottom to the top so they can come out and eat without coming above the ice. Like once the winter happens, these beavers might not be able to come out.
They're living in the banks here. That's how they breathe. They go up in their bank dens. And that's how they can get air. But other than that, they're just under the ice.
See these bubbles? This is kind of key. Like what Seth's talking about. They'll hollow these banks out so they can live a totally subterranean existence where they come out and feed and then go up into a hollow that they make in the bank.
Yeah, and the ice goes from like a cloudy ice to black with bubbles in it.
So you can see that this has been open longer, and all those bubbles are from exhaling. And they're coming out and being real active out here, less active here. And then look here, a big concentration of bubbles. Well, look, that's still open. Look at this.
Real thin.
That's getting enough activity where they're keeping it open.
One of my favorite trapping partners is Seth Morris, a Pennsylvania native who used to work for a fur buyer, fleshing raccoon hides. He remembers working away in a fur shed heated by burning raccoon fat. He's got a trapper's careful eye for what we call sign, which is often extremely subtle evidence left behind by fur-bearing animals. Reading sign is an ancient art form. We love it.
He's been busting up through there. All kind of trapping. Coolest thing about it is it's all like really advanced sign reading, and it's all detective work, you know? Read all the sign, know your tracks, just very subtle clues that no one would ever notice. All the world, he's got to put his foot right there. Or in the case of other stuff under the ice, you got to get him through a little box. This is called a 330 conibear. It's the biggest kind of body gripper. For months, they might not come into the open air. For months. They're gonna live under the ice, in the water, and then they'll come in here and they'll have a hollowed out cavity up there. They'll have a room hollowed out. I'm blocking that hole with that conibear, but you wanna make the conibear stable. So I set it in there, and then I'm just what's called cross staking it. You run it through the spring, and then it catches the jaws and holds it upright. Now, if you're running 1,000,000 of these things, you'd want to mark that with surveyor's tape or mark it on Onyx. But I'll remember that one. I'm too excited about it to forget. See all the air bubbles, black thin ice. A lot of times the ice is lifted up. It's weird, like you'll have a hollow. You can take a spud and listen to the noise the spud makes and find runs. There's the side of the run, watch. Side of the run, that deep. Boom. Real firm bottom. See all these bubbles? Funnels in and vanishes into the bank. Then you know that's his den entrance.
I'm just getting these springs compressed. There's locks on them so you can compress them, and this little catch here keeps them from opening back up.
These are real handy for setting. Whoop, right there. Up. Yep.
When I was in high school, it was just like an after-school job. I'd go make a couple bucks, putting up fur in a trapping shop, skinning and fleshing and stretching hides, getting them ready to go to the market, the fur sale. But I've been trapping since I was legally able to, which was 12 years old in Pennsylvania. Trapping a lot of like raccoon and fox over anything else. I like water trapping, but I like making dirt hole sets for coyotes and bobcats. That's my favorite. Beavers are a problem for people out here in the west where there's irrigation ditches and they're irrigating and damming up ditches and causing them to flood. A lot of times ranchers are happy to have you come trap. They're happy to have you come trap coyotes too, because the coyotes are killing cattle and sheep and whatnot. So most ranchers like trappers, which is a good thing.
The snow sucks. So if you look, one, it's old, so there's a ton of noise from over time, but two, it's just crystallized. So you can tell where stuff's walked, but you can't tell what walked. See, it just doesn't leave a track. So it's very hard, very difficult sign reading conditions. Real difficult. Ready, Seth?
Yep. We're setting one here because there's multiple different roads that come together right here.
Ditches.
There's a ditch right here. There's a heavily worn deer trail right here. There's gonna be a lot of stuff that's ends up in this area naturally.
Yeah, predators like to work edges. Habitat changes. So, like I said, windrow, ditch, brushy ditch, ag field, gates.
If there wasn't a trap here, a coyote would end up being here anyways.
Might make it a bad spot. He's gonna be like, no shit, they're trapping here.
Yeah. The bait and the sheep's wool, all that stuff you want to get back into the back of that hole is the best you can, because you want them to kind of be here as long as possible, messing around, stepping all over everything. So the further back in, the better. Fermented meat. There you go. Beaver number one.
I told him we were gonna catch a bunch of beavers here.
No, we got him. Beaver number 2.
Little one. Throws in. There it is.
Good one.
This beaver was in there while we sat, because he was coming out when he got caught. These beavers all go to the hatter market. I mean, I use them for all kinds of stuff, hats and whatever, pillows, but in the commercial trade, these go to the hatter market. These get shredded and to make wool felt for cowboy hats. These western beavers go that way because they're reddish. The ones that are real valuable for like the garment trade are upper Great Lakes, upper New England, where they have these really dark chocolate or even sometimes jet black beavers. Those are valuable. You know, you go to the Bozeman airport and everybody dressed up like a cowboy, who you kind of could tell ain't. They're driving the beaver market up. It's so funny. People that would never wear a fur, you know, because it's mean, would absolutely wear a cowboy hat made from fur. The same way if you take like leather, okay? You got leather upholstery, leather shoes, leather boots. That's a hide with the hair gone. So you throw the hair away, it becomes leather, and everybody's like, well, that's A-okay. You leave the hair on and utilize the hair, and then you're, you know, some people think you're like a morally questionable territory.
In addition to physical labor and learning about animals, trapping also gives you a lot of lessons in failure. You can be an expert at reading sign, hauling heavy stuff, chopping holes through ice, wading through muck and slush, etc. But you can still get outsmarted and thwarted by everything from muskrats to coyotes.
No, he worked it from the side.
Oh, you did?
It's coyote track right there.
Ugh.
Track there.
Yeah, he worked it. All right. We'll figure it out. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Oh, missed him. Missed him.
What's that?
Damn. What in the world? Do we have one over here somewhere? Doesn't make sense.
Man. We went from every trap being full on that other slough to this one, everyone being sprung except the one.
We're gonna have to get serious and reset this slough. Damn. Hey, you're not gonna believe this, Seth.
What?
Remember how you wanted a nice red fox?
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. I probably wouldn't have believed. That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a nice fox too. Look at that.
Holy smokes. That's the first time I've seen a fox caught in one of these boxes before.
Of all forms of trapping, predator trapping is the most controversial. This is in part because it reminds people of the sins of our forefathers when America's predators were nearly wiped out by indiscriminate poisoning campaigns. Many folks don't understand just how well some predator populations have recovered over the past century, and they're insensitive to hunters, farmers, and livestock producers who would like to see a healthy balance between predator and prey populations.
Yeah, raccoons from out here aren't real valuable because they have that sandy brown. And the ones where I grew up in Michigan, you know, you get silvers. They call them northern silvers. Silver colored raccoons, which are valuable. When you get these tanned up, they're nice, man. I like them.
We got one. First coyote of our little line here. It's a nice one too. Number 3 Bridger. I got those traps just for that. Right there, catching coyotes in the west.
Setting traps is one thing, but once you've harvested, there's still a pile of work left to do. You need to skin, flesh, and stretch the hides to get them ready for sale, or in my case, to be sent off to the tannery and then sent to a fur sewer to be turned into usable products. Preparing hides, or putting them up as we call it, is hard work. It requires expertise. When discussing the process of learning how to flesh a beaver, my buddy Mike once said, "Yeah, the first 100 are hard."
There we go.
That's good, Seth.
So that's the final product.
Smell that. It'll knock your socks off. It's skunk. Places there's a lot of these, man. You can go a long time and not see them. I touched one time. Did I ever tell you that? I ran into it out in the woods. He was running around a tree, and just to say I touched one.
I'm always surprised at how big their pads are.
Yeah, huge pads. Still a big old track.
Pine martens are wilderness critters of the north. Here, they like the mountains, the thick spruce and fir forests. Martens used to be extraordinarily valuable. Products made from their fur are sold as sable, which is what they call the animals in Europe. Nowadays, they fetch only a modest sum of money, which is a shame for something so gorgeous and warm.
Yeah.
You just can't justify the pursuit on financial grounds, but I can certainly justify the pursuit on the merits of my wife's sable fur bomber hat.
Oh, damn, another one.
Trapping requires mastery of ancient skill sets. You need to be an expert tracker. You need to know how to work with your hands. You need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You need to be crafty and ingenuitive and adaptable and not afraid of applying a little elbow grease. You need to know how to work an axe, a file, a knife, and how to deal with frozen ground and mud and cold fingers. In places, you need to know how to read ice, or handle a canoe, or use snowshoes, or get yourself out of innumerable sticky situations that might arise. You can't be the kind of person who gets grossed out by weird smells or scared off by dark nights or bothered by early mornings. You need to be tough, or at least you need to aspire to be tough. Some folks think trappers and trapping will eventually just go away. We'll get too soft and civilized to appreciate the work, and we'll lose sight of the beauty of natural materials made from renewable resources. And I don't know, maybe they're right. I can think of a lot of other mistakes and lamentable decisions that we've made as people or as a country over the years. But as for me, and I'll speak for Seth when I say as for him too, when winter rolls around and everything freezes up, you'll continue to find us out here, axing some holes through the ice and pulling out nature's treasure.